At Yuchi Wei's wedding, I shot an arrow through the bride's red veil, killing her instantly. For that woman was a spy. Afterward, Yuchi Wei was so grateful he wept, promoting me to his personal deputy commander. And thus, he discovered my secret, that I was a woman disguised as a man. 5 years later, on our wedding night, he entered carrying an urn he treasured for years. I want you to taste the deepest pain at the height of joy, just as I did back then. Only then did I realize he had never ceased to love that female spy. He gouged out my eyes and crippled my hands, rendering me forever unable to shoot arrows. Through blood-red vision, I set the house ablaze, determined to die with him. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back on the day of Yuchi Wei's wedding. Sir, could that woman stepping out of the wedding palanquin be the female spy? I stopped my subordinate with a blank expression. We came today solely to offer congratulations. No official business. Main text, Chief Phone looked at me, momentarily stunned. Sir, we followed her here. We clearly encountered the wedding procession, but she vanished. It's highly possible. Impossible. I stood across the street, gazing at the lintel of the Yuchi residence. After all, she's the bride General Yuchi is marrying. How could she be a female spy? Chief Phone nodded thoughtfully. True. She'd have to be mad to dare climb into the general's wedding palanquin. Once discovered, she'd only meet a more miserable end. Exactly. In my past life, I'd been too eager to catch the thief to realize, how could an ordinary female thief dare barge into General Yuchi Wei's wedding palanquin? If Yuchi Wei discovered her, it would be a death sentence. I assumed she'd panicked and followed into the Yuchi residence, until I saw a single drop of blood trickle from the bride's fingertip. The evidence was undeniable. I drew my bow and shot her dead on the spot. The arrow pierced through the bride's skull, through the crimson wedding veil, and embedded itself firmly into the wall behind her, leaving just her face exposed. That was not the bride he was supposed to marry today. Yuchi Wei was utterly shocked. At the time, I believed his shock stemmed from ignorance. Only on the day of my death did I learn he knew that woman. No, he didn't merely know her, he loved her deeply. He was simply a master of disguise. After I shot his bride, he knelt before me in front of all the guests. He thanked me for swiftly eliminating the spy, preventing him from being exploited by traitors. His solemn vows and tearful gratitude convinced everyone he had no connection to the female spy. Afterward, he publicly burned his bride's body and promoted me beyond protocol to his personal deputy commander. Thus, it wasn't long before he discovered my secret, that I was a woman disguised as a man, and our ill-fated affair began. Yet I never imagined, even in death, that he would assume my arrow back then was driven by jealousy toward that woman, simply because I was female. How laughably arrogant. On our wedding night, Yuchi Wei gouged out my eyes and crippled my hands. From now on, you shall reflect on your sins in hell. Before the bloodstained darkness consumed my vision, I seized the blazing wedding candle and hurled it into the bed curtains, then braced my body against the door to hold it shut. Yuchi Wei, I have done no wrong, nor do I love you. Let us die together. When I opened my eyes again, I was back in this moment. Yuchi Wei, clad in crimson, hurried over the threshold, stumbling slightly. But upon seeing the bride emerge from the flower-decorated palanquin, his eyes softened with tenderness. I was slightly surprised. In my past life, he hadn't seemed this moved. Could it be? He too had been reborn? Yuchi Wei gently took the bride's hand, scanning the area until his gaze met mine across the street. He drew her closer, then summoned a guard, whispering instructions before leading the newlyweds into the mansion. Before entering, he glanced back at me, his expression complex. Sir, what if that bride truly is a spy? Shouldn't we investigate? I nodded. Caution is wise. Naturally, we must go in to see the spectacle. Besides, I needed to confirm for myself whether Yuchi Wei had also been reborn. Unexpectedly, I was stopped at the entrance. The general says you are not permitted to enter today. Qi Feng protested incredulously. The general's wedding banquet? Our lord was invited too. On what grounds are we barred? The guard looked troubled. We are only following orders. This time, I was certain, Yuchi Wei had also been reborn. He feared I might enter the mansion again and shoot his beloved Luo Qian. Then so be it. Just as we were about to leave, two distinguished guests arrived, the Crown Prince and Prince Qi. These two imperial princes held significant influence in court, each wielding considerable power and prestige. On Wei Qi's joyous day, why turn away those who come to offer congratulations? The Crown Prince, kind and approachable, was also my superior. I hastily bowed in greeting. Prince Qi paused briefly as he passed by me. I heard Minister Fu was pursuing someone today. Your Highness, the target was lost. Prince Qi glanced at me, his tone laden with unspoken meaning. Lost the target, yet still find time to offer congratulations? I dared not speak the truth, bowing my head in confession. Your Highness is correct. Let's go. The Crown Prince rescued me from the awkwardness. With the nobleman's permission, I led Qi Feng into the mansion. Yuchi Wei was still guiding the bride through the wedding rites, unaware I had entered. This time, the droplet of blood spilling from the bride's fingertip was discreetly wiped away by Yuchi Wei, so no one noticed anything amiss. I stood among the crowd, lost in thought. In my past life, I had killed Luo Qian too easily, inadvertently clearing Yuchi Wei of suspicion for colluding with spies. This time, I would ensure his conviction. And it would be undeniable, ironclad. Tonight's wedding proceedings included not only the three bows before the altar, but also Yuchi Wei personally receiving the congratulatory gifts from the two princes alongside his bride. Qi Feng stood beside me. Your Excellency, the bride reeks of blood. Luo Qian had suffered severe knife wounds when she escaped our grasp, and now she was being propped up by those around her. I'll handle this. As the couple turned away, I snatched a pebble and flicked it toward Luo Qian's knee. The bride staggered and collapsed to her knees. Her wedding veil slid to the side, about to reveal her true face. Yuchi Wei's intended bride was the daughter of the Deputy Secretary of the Imperial Secretariat. Once the veil was lifted, the bridal attendants would surely discover their mistress had been replaced. But just as her true face was about to be revealed, Yuchi Wei urgently embraced her, snatching the veil back into place with one hand. The woman, flustered, buried her face into his chest. No one could see her face. Yuchi Wei replaced the veil before steadying her to her feet. Yet murmurs had already begun. Do you smell blood? It does seem a bit like it. The bride nervously tightened her grip on Yuchi Wei's hand. Yuchi Wei noticed the pebbles on the ground and frowned momentarily. Soon, he spotted me in the crowd. Lord Fu Yao presides over criminal justice. That blood scent must have come from you, he stated bluntly, showing no restraint. Didn't I forbid you from attending today? Qi Feng's voice rose in indignation. This is clearly. I stopped Qi Feng, explaining politely to my colleagues, perhaps the blood on me brings ill fortune. I'll gladly accept a cup of the general's wedding wine to wash away this dust. Yuchi Wei curled his lips in mockery. He hadn't realized I'd returned from another life. Perhaps he still thought I harbored affection for him. But he didn't know that what I truly wanted was for him to publicly shield Luo Qian. The more he protected her, the more miserable his death would be when his spy identity was exposed. For now, it seemed he had shielded the fake bride, but they were already on the same sinking ship. The newlyweds were escorted to their bridal chamber, and Qi Feng and I headed to the banquet. Sir, that bride is highly suspicious. We should act first. I know, I reassured Qi Feng. But you saw how General Yuchi shielded her earlier. It's hard to say. He grasped my unspoken meaning. Could Yuchi Wei be the one pulling her strings? Yuchi Wei was the most favored general in the court. If he were betraying the country and colluding with the enemy, it would be no small matter. This matter must not be rushed. We must first locate someone. Qi Feng froze. Now? How could there be time? I smiled enigmatically. There is time. As we approached the rockery, a maid happened to cross the bridge. I beckoned her over. Do you know where the wedding palanquin stopped just now? The maid wasn't easily fooled. Why does the noble seek the palanquin? I heard the red silk on its canopy brings good fortune. I wish to ask for a piece. I slipped a silver ingot into her palm. The maid pondered for a moment. Recalling the custom, she led the way forward. In the empty backyard, the ornate wedding palanquin stood abandoned, unattended. But there was a servant, holding a torch, about to set the palanquin ablaze. What are you doing? Qi Feng shouted, leaping forward to kick him unconscious. The maid was thrown into a panic. Good heavens! Who is he? Why aren't the bearers here to guard it? I must, her voice trailed off abruptly. I had struck her unconscious. Qi Feng was climbing atop the palanquin, tugging at a red silk ribbon. Hearing the maid fall, he turned to me. What are you doing? I stared at him in shock. What are you doing? Didn't you want this? He asked, puzzled. I shook my head helplessly, climbed into the palanquin, and lifted the seat cover. Inside, a woman lay curled up, tears streaming down her face. She wore only her undergarments, her mouth stuffed with cloth, her hands and feet bound with sashes. She was Su Niancy, daughter of the vice minister of the secretariat. She was supposed to be today's bride. Miss Su, you've suffered wrongs. In my past life, I only learned the truth later. Su Niancy had set out joyfully for her wedding, but when they stopped at the matchmaker temple to pray for blessings and rest, a female thief climbed through the window, struck her speechless, ripped off her bridal veil, stripped her of her garments, and took her place as the bride. Locked in the dark, hidden compartment of the wedding sedan chair, she listened as her husband carried away the impostor bride. It wasn't until Luo Qian's death that we discovered a charred corpse within the wreckage of the sedan chair in the back courtyard. The servant who set the fire had been paid to do so and was unaware anyone was inside. Thank you for saving me, Magistrate Fu. Before the wedding night, I must expose that impostor bride. I stopped her. Miss Su, I've followed this trail to this very place. Just now in the hall, I tested her repeatedly and nearly lifted that woman's veil, but I never imagined. What didn't you expect? Qi Feng studied my expression. I didn't expect General Yuchi to shield her in his arms before everyone, covering her completely, then personally picking up the veil. Su Niancy froze for a moment. I seized the opening to press further. Forgive my boldness, but has General Yuchi seen your face? Su Niancy paled, her knuckles turning white as she clenched her fists. Her voice trembled. He has. In that case, Yuchi Wei and that female thief are most likely accomplices. Su Niancy finally grasped whom I was suspecting. Lord Fu, is capturing that woman not sufficient? Miss Su, you must understand, this woman is no ordinary thief. She stole the capital's military defense maps, and Yuchi Wei is a first-rank general. This concerns treason, a capital offense. I must deliberate carefully. Miss Su, if Yuchi Wei truly betrays the nation, your refusal to sever ties with him today could lead to your entire household being executed tomorrow. Su Niancy froze, unable even to shed tears. He would actually. I pulled her out of the bridal sedan chair, showing her the fallen servant. Had we not arrived in time, you would have been burned alive. Su Niancy could barely stand. I instructed Qi Feng to tend to the servant and maid, then had Su Niancy change into a maid's attire. You needn't fear falsely accusing him. I'll take you now to see for yourself the nature of his relationship with that female spy. Qi Feng and I, accompanied by the true bride disguised as a maid, slipped toward the main courtyard. Near the bridal chamber, Chi Feng distracted the guarding maid, allowing Su Nianxi to seamlessly take her place. Stay hidden here. Don't look up. I pushed open the door. Inside the bridal chamber, two of Su's bridal attendants lay unconscious on the floor. Luo Qian was treating her wounds. Who's there? Turning to see me, she actually sighed in relief. I wondered who it could be. Turns out it's Magistrate Fu, who's been chasing me all day. Luo Qian stood up, spread her arms wide, and tugged at her lips. Fu Yao, I'm now under the protection of the general's residence. What can you possibly do to me? I stared at her silently. In my past life, our only encounter was when I killed her. Yet she naively believed I wouldn't dare kill within the general's residence. You impersonated Su Nianxi to marry him. Don't you fear Yuchi Wei will kill you? Luo Qian showed no fear. You don't understand. We grew up together. No matter what I do, he won't hold it against me. Especially something as trivial as this? Trivial? I sneered coldly. Is stealing the capital's military defense maps trivial? Luo Qian denied it. I'm certain the defense maps are still on your person. I closed in, grabbing her collar, about to search her when Luo Qian suddenly fell backward, crashing heavily onto the dressing table. Fu Yao, what are you doing here? A sword's icy edge whistled past my ear, slicing a strand of hair. I had no choice but to release her, turning to face Yuchi Wei. Luo Qian immediately darted behind him. Yuchi Wei glared at me. Fu Yao, you dare repeatedly attack Shallow on my turf? Is that not sheer recklessness? I stared at him, my tone laced with sarcasm. Reckless? Yuchi Wei, is this Shallow you speak of the bride you're supposed to marry tonight? Yuchi Wei's expression faltered slightly, as if he knew he was in the wrong. Qian and I are old friends. Had you not pursued her relentlessly, she would never have been driven to seek my help. I merely offered temporary shelter during the wedding, and I trust Nianxi would understand. Unlike you, she possesses common sense. Understand? Have you considered where Su Nianxi is now? Do you worry whether she's safe at this very moment? Yuchi Wei remained composed. I know. She's in the bridal sedan chair. After tonight, I'll personally retrieve her. Consider it my search for her all night long. In the dim, uncertain night, a slender figure trembled beside the door. Su Nianxi must hear it from my own lips to finally give up hope and become my best witness. Yuchi Wei, Miss Su is a lady of noble birth. Are you really going to make her spend her wedding night huddled in the bridal sedan chair just for the sake of a female thief? Yuchi Wei avoided my gaze, his expression unchanging. A necessary expedient. No other choice. Luo Qian seized the moment. Exactly. Even if she is a noble lady, so what? She endures one night of hardship to save my life. Isn't that precisely the act of virtue and kindness we should perform? Just then, a guard arrived with news. General, it's terrible. The bridal sedan chair sent by the Su family is on fire. Yuchi Wei spun around abruptly, his grip on the sword faltering as his face drained of color. What? Naturally, it was my doing. To avoid alerting the enemy, I had Chi Feng set the fire before leaving. Yuchi Wei demanded urgently, how bad is the fire? Any clues? No one was around. By the time it was discovered, it was already mostly burned. Now. They're trying to put it out. Almost completely burned. Meaning, if Su Nianxi was still inside the palanquin, he'd be nothing but a corpse now. He fixed a piercing stare on Luo Qian. You did this? Luo Qian's face drained of color. I don't know. Meeting Yuchi Wei's scrutinizing gaze, she kept backing away. It really wasn't me. Fearful of Yuchi Wei's suspicion, she pointed at me without hesitation. It was her. It must have been her. I was calmly about to step outside. Who did it? An investigation will reveal it. After all, neither the Crown Prince nor Prince Qi left their seats. Luo Qian rushed over to block me, her expression tense. General, she can't be allowed to leave. She thought there was a corpse in the bridal palanquin, which was why she panicked and lost her composure. Yuchi Wei would surely conclude she had set the fire. His expression darkened as expected. He yanked Luo Qian before him, gritting his teeth. Sun Yanxi held no grudge against you. Why did you have to kill her? Luo Qian shook her head, biting her lower lip, tears streaming down her face. But things have come to this. Are you really going to send me to my death for her sake? Yuchi Wei merely tilted his head back, exhaled a long sigh, and suddenly grew calm. He ordered his guards, no need to extinguish the fire. Don't alert anyone. Dispose of the wedding palanquin cleanly. I could scarcely believe my ears. Yuchi Wei, that was a human life. Fu Yao, the dead cannot be revived. If you spare Qianqian tonight, I will grant you one request. I sneered coldly. What could you possibly promise me? He stared at me for a moment before turning away with icy detachment. I know you're a woman disguised as a man. Your relentless pursuit of Qianqian is nothing more than. His voice faltered, as if struggling to speak the truth. Nothing more than for me. His resolve was set. I promise, after this, I will marry you. A sudden, heavy silence fell. I couldn't help but laugh. What are you laughing at? His expression darkened abruptly. I'm laughing. Because you might not even survive tonight, yet you still think you could marry me. Before I could finish, the sound of shattering tiles echoed from outside the window. Yuchi Wei rushed out the door, catching only a glimpse of a figure darting across the roof. Who was that? I followed him out and recognized the figure instantly. It was Qi Feng. He must have stumbled upon the roof tiles upon suddenly learning of my true gender. Yuchi Wei signaled to his guards to pursue and investigate. As he turned back toward the room, he halted abruptly, his head whipping around to fix his gaze on the figure by the door. You are from the Su household? Sun Yanxi stiffened completely, burying her head lower and giving a slight nod. Yuchi Wei remained rooted to the spot, his gaze fixed on her, dark and intense. Raise your head. Sun Yanxi slowly lifted her face, revealing a deathly pale complexion, her eyes filled with hatred. It's me. I'm still alive. The moment Yuchi Wei recognized her, he froze. You. How are you here? His mind instantly jumped to me. It's you. You're the one behind this. I stepped behind Sun Yanxi. Of course it was me. If not for me, she'd be dead. You should thank me. Sun Yanxi raised her hand high and delivered a sharp slap. Yuchi Wei, our marriage was decreed by His Majesty's golden words. Yet you use this to harbor a fugitive. I will inform my father and bring this before the court. How do you intend to bear the consequences? She finished each word before turning and running out of the courtyard. Yuchi Wei ignored me and immediately gave chase. But before he could take a few steps, a silver flash streaked past him, catching up to Sun Yanxi's figure on the bridge. A flying dagger had just pierced her back. Her form abruptly halted on the bridge before she toppled headfirst into the water. But at that very moment, Qi Feng arrived hurriedly with the crown prince and others, witnessing Sun Yanxi being stabbed and falling into the water. Nianer, even disguised as a maid, Su Shilang recognized his daughter. The crown prince, leading the way, plunged into the water, pulled her out, and summoned a physician. Yuchi Wei had long since stopped, turning to look at Luo Qian with a look of shock. She leaned weakly against the doorframe, appearing frail and delicate, bearing no resemblance to the woman who had just committed a crime. I had no choice but to silence her. Yuchi Wei felt a wave of dizziness. The crown prince and Su Shirling advanced toward the bridal chamber with fierce determination. The crown prince's guards, armed and ready, flooded in, surrounding the courtyard completely. Yuchi Wei, she's a fugitive who committed murder in public. You can't protect her now. Fu Yao, you're ruthless and unscrupulous, but I'll never let you hurt Qianqian again. Unexpectedly, across both lifetimes, Yuchi Wei did the most responsible thing he ever had. He knelt down in public, taking the blame for the murder on Luo Qian's behalf. Qianqian impersonating the bride was merely a whim. I never expected Niancy to confront us. In the heat of the moment, I dismissed him as mad and turned to report to the crown prince. Your Highness, Yuchi Wei committed murder on his wedding night. This grave crime warrants execution. Unexpectedly, he was interrupted. Minister Fu, according to our dynasty's laws, murder is a capital offense, but killing one's wife is not. I froze in shock. What? Yuchi Wei lifted his head to look at me, his voice dripping with malice. Besides, Su Niancy isn't even dead. It's merely the crime of accidentally injuring one's wife. So that was his scheme. Minister Su, already seething with rage, kicked him hard in the shoulder. You beast! The crown prince's face darkened. Yuchi Wei, your crimes will be judged by the proper authorities. You are now to be imprisoned pending trial. Guards roughly pinned Yuchi Wei to the ground. I hadn't forgotten Luo Qian either. Your Highness, if murder alone is insufficient grounds for conviction, I hold further evidence of General Yuchi's crimes. My gaze swept indifferently over the crowd below. Then, I slowly raised my hand and pointed at Luo Qian. This woman is a spy who stole military secrets. Yuchi Wei sheltered her, a grave act of treason. Luo Qian denied it. I merely impersonated a bride, I'm no spy. What proof do you have? Proof, indeed. The capital military defense map. It's on your person. I recalled that after her death in my previous life, I had searched her body and found that very map. The crown prince immediately ordered a thorough search of her. I thought it was a sure thing, yet they found nothing. Luo Qian emerged from behind the screen, tying her sash as she walked, her expression a mocking half-smile. Well? My heart skipped a beat. Suddenly, something clicked. I whirled around, staring at the crowd surrounding us. Every familiar face instantly felt alien to me. Luo Qian dared impersonate the bride not merely because Yuchi Wei was a rare fool, there was a far more plausible possibility: her mastermind was among today's banquet guests. That was why she risked coming here, to swiftly transfer the military defense map. In my past life, I had killed her too soon, leaving her plot unfinished. But in this life, she had already delivered the military defense maps. With matters having reached this point, I had no choice but to act decisively. Your Highness, I fear her accomplices are among the guests. The military defense maps have not yet been transferred. I request immediate search and seizure of the residence. Yuchi Wei struggled at these words. Your Highness. Fu Yao has no evidence. Moreover, you must understand, as a woman, she lacks the qualifications to hold official office. He publicly exposed my true identity. Luo Qian seized the moment when I wasn't looking, suddenly stepping behind me and snatching my hairpin. Everyone present was startled. All eyes pierced me like needles, a mix of shock, suspicion, contempt, and horror. I made no move to gather my hair, letting it fall loose as I knelt stiffly before the assembled crowd. Your Highness, let us focus on the matter at hand. The military defense maps are the urgent priority. As for my identity, I shall accept my punishment. The Crown Prince studied me for a moment before nodding. Proceed as you suggest. Search the residence. With those words, the atmosphere in the entire general's residence shifted completely. The earlier festive mood vanished instantly, replaced by a palpable sense of impending doom. Soldiers filled the corridors, every room was opened for inspection, and every person was questioned. Strangely enough, despite the extensive search, nothing incriminating was found. The Crown Prince listened to his subordinates' reports, then turned his gaze to me. "Fu Yao, do you have anything else to say?" I stood rooted to the spot, my gaze sweeping over the bewildered faces as my mind raced. In my past life, after Luo Qian's death, Yuchi Wei, though not punished, had been severely reprimanded. Later, at the suggestion of His Highness the Prince of Qi, Yuchi Wei led an expeditionary force into battle, atoning for his mistakes through military service. Years later, while campaigning with Yuchi Wei, I heard Prince Qi had rebelled and been suppressed by the Crown Prince. Could it be? I drew a deep breath and lifted my head to meet the Crown Prince's gaze. "Your Highness, there is one person who has not been searched." Prince Qi was not here. The servants of the general's residence said that just as Qi Feng had alerted the Crown Prince and the others, Prince Qi had claimed to feel unwell and left the banquet early. The Crown Prince deliberated briefly before issuing a death sentence. "Fu Yao, I grant you one final chance. If you fail to find the military defense maps at Prince Qi's quarters, you shall bear full responsibility for your failure." Fortunately, Qi Feng and I acted swiftly, intercepting Prince Qi's carriage at the alley entrance. Prince Qi lifted the curtain with one hand, revealing his slanted eyes as he stared intently at me. "Minister Fu, why such attire tonight?" I swiftly gathered my long hair, still observing male etiquette. "Your Highness, a crucial item was lost tonight at General Yuchi's residence, the military defense map of the capital." "You suspect this prince?" I dared not say it was suspicion, it was nearly a certainty. "Your Highness, all banquet guests are searched. Surely you should not be exempt?" Prince Qi leaned forward, his gaze fixed on me. "All guests are searched." "What of the Crown Prince? Minister Fu, was he searched too?" I fell silent. How could he compare himself to the Crown Prince? "Your Highness," I began, but he cut me off, lowering the curtain as he spoke. "Search me. But I won't step down. You come up." As a member of the imperial family, Prince Qi's carriage was naturally of the finest quality, spacious and uncrowded. I climbed inside, ready to conduct the search. Prince Qi, however, evaded my hand. "Minister Fu, you are a woman." He studied me for a moment, his eyes lowered in cold scrutiny. "Men and women should not touch each other. I shall do it myself." Right before my eyes, Prince Qi turned his head and began unfastening his garments himself. As a nobleman, his attire was intricate and layered. He removed 7 or 8 garments before stopping. "Satisfied? My apologies. I personally checked the final undergarment, nothing concealed." Glancing at Prince Qi, I slowly withdrew my hand. The Crown Prince's ultimatum still rang in my ears. Without the capital's military defense map, I'd bear the blame. Prince Qi noticed my disappointment and murmured, "Minister Fu, do you truly distress me so deeply?" The carriage curtains were drawn tight, leaving only the two of us. I saw no point in further pretense. "Your Highness, if your conscience is clear, why the sudden haste to depart?" I leaned forward, fixing him with my gaze. Prince Qi was picking up his robe beside him when my sudden approach halted his movement. He paused, stepping back, his gaze shifting away. "I haven't married yet. I'm just going through the motions." I never liked watching others wed in the first place. Prince Qi's words seemed illogical, yet they were also flawlessly constructed. I ignored him, turning my attention to inspecting the carriage interior, but found nothing unusual. "Minister Fu, no lingering. Please depart." Prince Qi grew impatient, urging me to leave. I sighed, lifted the carriage curtain, and was about to step out when something caught my peripheral vision. My gaze darted over, it was the horse, bored from waiting, swishing its tail. Yet I caught a fleeting glimpse of pale blue-gray. I leaped down, lifted the horse's tail, and found a slender bamboo tube hidden within. Unwrapping it, I discovered the very military defense map of the capital region I'd been pursuing for so long. Your Highness, caught red-handed. How do you explain this? Prince Chi followed me out, his expression shifting abruptly as he eyed the scroll. Fu Yao. He suddenly called my name, his voice pausing. If I said someone framed me, would you believe me? Your Highness, I've heard that excuse from many before. I stepped before him, holding up the scroll. You must have received this from Luo Qian when presenting gifts to the newcomer. Fu Yao. Is this how you conduct investigations, with such preconceived notions? His accusation was delivered with righteous indignation, catching me off guard. I studied him intently, and he met my gaze without flinching. Moments later, footsteps grew louder from afar. The crown prince arrived with his entourage. I glanced back, tucked the blueprints into my robe, then turned to Prince Chi. Fine. I'll give you one chance to prove you were framed. I had my own methods to discern truth from falsehood, right from wrong. In an instant, the crown prince stood before us. Minister Fu, any findings? I shot Prince Chi a look, then chose to lie, nothing uncovered. The crown prince's brow furrowed slightly. With a gentle lift of his hand, his men immediately launched a thorough search of Prince Chi's carriage. I watched closely from the sidelines. If Prince Chi insisted he'd been framed, then whoever set him up would know better than anyone where the incriminating evidence was hidden. If such a person existed, they couldn't possibly stay hidden. The crown prince's men searched meticulously yet decisively, showing no lingering hesitation. Moreover, the leader did not board the carriage but personally inspected the shafts, seemingly absent-mindedly brushing the horse's tail with his sword scabbard. He paused, tightened his grip on the scabbard, then switched hands to run his fingers through the mane himself. A moment of bewilderment flashed across his face before he instinctively glanced to the side. I keenly observed the scene. During the Prince Chi rebellion in my previous life, I was not in the capital. I only knew the crown prince had triumphed, Prince Chi had fallen, and his head was displayed publicly. As a general who had once been friendly with Prince Chi, Yuchi Wei heard the news and was restless day and night. Later, we returned victorious with the army. The crown prince had ascended the throne and showed no resentment toward Yuchi Wei. Moreover, upon learning I was a woman, he bestowed a marriage upon us. This led to our wedding night, where Yuchi Wei tormented me until we met our end together. Gazing at the crown prince not far away, my fingertips dug into my palms, knuckles trembling uncontrollably. So the one behind Luo Qian had always been the crown prince. If he had long known of Yuchi Wei and Luo Qian's relationship, then when he bestowed our marriage, he had already calculated our mutual destruction. Yet tonight, His Royal Highness the Crown Prince presents himself as impartial and just, upholding the law. No wonder. No wonder he allowed me into the Yuchi residence, dared to send me to investigate Prince Chi, and issued that ultimatum beforehand, all to exploit my impulsiveness and secure Prince Chi for him. This entire night's grand spectacle, from Luo Qian stealing the map and impersonating the bride, has always pointed its blade at Prince Chi. Every piece, every person. Even I was nothing but a convenient pawn. Only now do I truly thank this rebirth. It finally allowed me to see who pushed me into that bottomless abyss. They never found the capital's military defense map. The crown prince stood motionless, brows furrowed. His gaze swept between me and the Prince of Qi before fixing firmly on my face. Fu Yao, the military map remains missing. You bear heavy responsibility. At this moment, both in reason and emotion, the crown prince held all the advantage. I had no choice but to accept blame. Your servant has nothing to say. The crown prince looked down at me from above. After a long silence, he spoke slowly. In that case, you are stripped of all your duties. Await your sentence. Yuchi Wei was imprisoned for assault and would await punishment once Sun Yanzi regained consciousness. I visited him in prison. You're unharmed and even changed into women's clothing? He lifted his gaze to meet mine, his expression unruffled. Indeed. I owe you for that, I replied nonchalantly. I'm quite content with who I am now. Dressing as a man was merely to fit in, not because I truly take pride in being male. Yuchi Wei gave a cold laugh but said nothing. Seeing him sitting listlessly in his cell, his expression distant, I couldn't help but ask, "You took the blame for her," nearly implicating Prince Qi, "and caused the Su family to switch allegiance to the Eastern Palace. Have you ever considered that she might actually be the Crown Prince's person? Do you think I'd believe you? Believe it or not, it's up to you. The Su family has petitioned for divorce. While it won't cost you your life, you can no longer hold office. Is it worth it?" Yuchi Wei gripped the bars, glaring at me with hatred. "This time, even if I lose all my wealth and honor, I will live and die with Qianqian." I curved my lips. "Fortunately, I'm kind-hearted and willing to give you this chance. You were sentenced to 3 years imprisonment. I interceded with Su Nianxi on your behalf. All you need do is walk every street of the capital with Luo Qian, kneeling every 3 steps and prostrating every 9. Your prison sentence will be immediately commuted." Yuchi Wei froze, his expression darkening. "Fu Yao, only you could devise such a humiliating punishment." I paid no heed to his sarcasm. "Flattery indeed. I delight in seeing lovers united, and trust your shallow will stand by you faithfully. 1 day or 3 years, the choice is yours." Saying no more, I departed the prison. Prince Qi awaited me. That night, I should have been arrested after my dismissal, but he intervened to protect me, escorting me to the palace to see His Majesty. I handed the capital's military defense maps to His Majesty. I recounted every detail of that night's events. The emperor was aged but not senile. When the Son of Heaven breaks the law, he is subject to the same punishment as any commoner, let alone the crown prince. Yet even commoners cannot be punished without solid evidence. He demanded proof. Prince Qi and I set out to find it. But Yuchi Wei deeply loved Luo Qian, who was a seasoned spy. The crown prince was also meticulous in his thinking. We had to break their alliance from within. After we emerged, Prince Qi asked me, "Why didn't father mention your disguise as a man?" We locked eyes for a long moment. I served as an official in a woman's form. His Majesty was already aware of this. The emperor is perceptive and adept at recognizing talent. Had the crown prince not ascended the throne in my previous life, I wouldn't have been arbitrarily betrothed. I should have had a brilliant future, becoming a marquis, serving as a minister, and bestowing blessings upon my descendants. Prince Qi overheard my conversation with Yuchi Wei. "You truly intend to release him?" I nodded, turning to face him. "Imprisoning him only protects him. But could a single humiliation truly turn him against you? Of course not. I will choose a special day for them." The day I selected was the day the crown prince presented his betrothal gifts to the Su family. It was a recent tale of beauty. The crown prince publicly rescued Su Nianxi from drowning, disregarded her status as a twice-married woman, and resolved to make her his concubine. Of course, given Su Nianxi's family background, she shouldn't have been a secondary consort. I had reason to suspect the crown prince's rescue was motivated by ulterior motives. Early that morning, Yuchi Wei walked out of the prison cell. Luo Qian, thinking the matter had passed without incident, eagerly came to escort him back. Unexpectedly, Yuchi Wei demanded she kneel with him along the streets. The scandal of his killing his wife for her sake had already caused an uproar. Now he wanted her to accompany him through every street, performing 3 kneels and 9 bows. Never mind the stares and spittle from passers-by, her knees alone would be ruined from the constant kneeling. She hesitated repeatedly. Yuchi Wei, disregarding his own humiliation, urged her instead, "Once today is over, we'll leave the capital." Luo Qian's face twisted, but she dared not refuse. Gritting her teeth, she knelt with him. By late morning, as I sipped soy milk with Prince Chi at a tea house, a crowd emerged from the street corner, hurling vegetable scraps and filth at them. Surrounded within that mob were none other than Yuchi Wei and Luo Qian. After kneeling for nearly 2 hours, Yuchi Wei still held himself upright, but Luo Qian's legs buckled. She could barely stand, her clothes filthy beyond recognition, blood still seeping from her forehead. The onlookers deliberately hurled filth at Luo Qian. Yuchi Wei shielded her fiercely, only to be shoved away forcefully by Luo Qian. She glared at him with bitter resentment. "I've had enough. You can kneel here alone." Luo Qian suddenly erupted like a madwoman, snatching the eggshell from her head and hurling it at him. "Why should I suffer this for you?" Yuchi Wei froze momentarily, grabbing her sleeve. "You know perfectly well I'm doing this to protect you." "Protect me?" Luo Qian paused, then sneered coldly, "You've never been my protector." With that, she turned and walked away. I lifted the soy milk in my hand and splashed it in front of her, blocking her path. "Aw, who's there?" I stood under the eaves of the tea shop, watching her silently. She dared not utter another word. Yuchi Wei caught up, meeting my gaze. "Fu Yao, she's just being stubborn. Don't be hard on her." "Hard on her?" I let out a soft laugh. "Yuchi Wei, if she leaves today, your kneeling alone won't count. So decide, do you go back to serve your 3-year sentence, or do you personally make things difficult for her?" I stepped aside, clearing the path. Yuchi Wei hesitated, but Luo Qian ignored him and continued forward. Before she could take half a step, he seized her wrist. "Qian, bear with it for now," he stared at her, pleading softly. "After all, you were the one who struck first." Luo Qian stared at him in disbelief. "You did it willingly." She struggled, but couldn't break free. Yuchi Wei steeled his resolve. To avoid imprisonment, he firmly pressed Luo Qian's shoulders and, before the eyes of all, forced her to kneel heavily. Thus, Luo Qian was personally escorted by Yuchi Wei, paraded like a prisoner through every main street of the capital. Time and again she struggled, time and again she was forced back down. Luo Qian, driven mad by fury, began wailing and cursing, spewing every vile insult imaginable. Yuchi Wei, who had initially tried to soothe her, now fell silent, continuing to drag her forward. Only when the sun sank below the western mountains did the two of them collapse, exhausted and disheveled, before the gates of the Su residence. It was then that Luo Qian learned the crown prince intended to marry Su Nianxi. In that instant, her expression finally turned truly despairing. Su Nianxi did not appear herself, sending only 2 maidservants. One carried the divorce papers Luo Qian had signed, while the other presented ink, brush, and vermilion seal paste, requesting Yuchi Wei to affix his signature. She couldn't even be bothered to look at this man again. Yuchi Wei held the brush, lost in thought for a moment before finally dipping it and pressing his seal. I stepped before him. "You are free now," my voice was calm, each word clear. "You've gotten your wish." Yuchi Wei stared at me, speechless for a long moment. Then he turned and walked away without a word. Luo Qian was left standing where she was. I approached, looking down at her face. "I know who your master is. But now he's married Su Nianxi." I bent closer, whispering into her ear, "He wants to win over the Su family. Tell me, how much longer do you think you'll live?" Luo Qian paled in panic, struggling to her feet to chase after Yuchi Wei. I, however, entered the Su residence. Su Nianxi's injuries had mostly healed, yet she remained listless. "My marriage to the crown prince is set for 3 months hence. This is not my wish, but matters have come to this, so I shall let them have their way." Suddenly thrust into life and death turmoil, she had lost her will and now drifted with the current. "Miss Su, whether you marry or not, there is someone I wish you to see." I clapped my hands. Qi Feng brought in the man from that day. "Speak! Who bribed you to set fire to the wedding palanquin?" The man had already endured severe torture, his speech slurred and incoherent. I had Qi Feng prepare 3 portraits, one of Yuchi Wei, one of Luo Qian, and one of the crown prince's personal attendant. He extended a trembling finger, pointing shakily at the last portrait. After Luo Qian disguised herself as the bride and entered the mansion that day, I pondered long afterward but couldn't fathom when she might have had the opportunity to hire an assassin. I took the portrait from Qi Feng's hands. Until it occurred to me, you were originally meant to marry Yuchi Wei. Yuchi Wei is a major general under Prince Qi. The crown prince might not have welcomed this marriage. Su Nianxi swayed, collapsing back into her chair in a daze, her fingertips accidentally knocking over the teacup on the table. Minister Fu, what do you want me to do? She lifted her head to look at me, her gaze fragmented. I would rather remain unmarried for life than share a bed with a wolf. I grasped her hand and uttered 4 words, repeat the same trick. 3 months later, the Su family sent out a more lavish wedding sedan chair, following the same route as before, stopping once more at the matchmaker temple. 2 maidservants escorted the bride inside. Prince Qi was waiting within. Yuchi Wei lost his official position and found work as a horse trainer in the outskirts of the capital. Luo Qian still follows him, barely scraping by. The crown prince tried to silence her several times, but I always sent men to stop him. Do you think she'd really risk coming today? I approached the statue of the matchmaker god, lifted the red veil, and began unfastening the intricate hairpins and ornaments. She will come. An ordinary person wouldn't dare take this risk, but she succeeded last time, so her courage has grown. Besides, she must have something on the crown prince. The matchmaker temple stood utterly empty, devoid even of tables or chairs. With nowhere to place the hairpins I'd removed, I glanced around uncertainly. Just then, Prince Qi approached, extending his palm. Give them to me. His movements flowed with effortless grace, a gentle curve lifting the corners of his lips. I paused in surprise, placed the pins in his hand, then turned away. I recall it was Your Highness who recommended Yuchi Wei for court service. Why won't you vouch for him now? I distinctly remembered that in my previous life, when Yuchi Wei faced turmoil, Prince Qi had interceded on his behalf, sending both him and me to the frontier. In this life, however, he showed no favor toward Yuchi Wei. Prince Qi withdrew his hand, his tone utterly indifferent. I've recommended many people, not all of them my faction. As for him, he got what he deserved. His voice suddenly halted, his tone shifting slightly. What? You still want me to pull him through? I frowned lightly. Why would I pull him through? He fell silent for a long moment, then turned his back to me. I thought you liked him. I froze, about to speak, when a sound came from the ventilation shaft behind the matchmaker's altar. We both jumped in fright. Moments later, I realized Luo Qian had arrived. She burst in, sword drawn. Why are you here? I was waiting specifically for you. You're being this kind? You have something I need. I fixed her with a steady gaze. But I also know you'll never give it to me. So I want to make a bet, the stakes are what I want. Luo Qian looked skeptical. What do you want to bet? You're willing to take this risk because you believe you hold leverage over the crown prince, so he'll willingly marry you to cover his mistake. I'm betting he won't. My words were clear and deliberate. Not only will he not, he'll kill you. Then, when that time comes, you'll hand over the evidence to me. That would be my way of avenging you. He won't. Luo Qian's eyes reddened, her voice stubborn. He also said that after everything was settled, he would marry me. She paused, lowering her eyes softly. It's my fault. I failed to accomplish the task. The crown prince had deceived her terribly. If that's the case, then you should bet with me even more, shouldn't you? Luo Qian and I exchanged clothes. Amidst the clamor of gongs and drums, the wedding procession, adorned with 10 miles of crimson, set off. Prince Chi and I rode behind on horseback. If she enters the Eastern Palace, she'll likely die immediately. How will you find her to get the evidence? I stared straight ahead. We won't reach her. Outside the palace gates, the crown prince led his men in anticipation of the wedding procession. As dusk fell, the flower-adorned palanquin finally came into view. Just as he prepared to ride forward to greet it, an uninvited guest burst onto the path. "Luo Qian!" The cry made the crown prince pull his horse to a halt. It was Yuchi Wei. Prince Chi was astonished. How did he know Luo Qian was here? I nodded. I told him to come. Yuchi Wei blocked the palanquin, rushed forward, and yanked the bride out. Without a word, he tore off her red veil. Seeing it was indeed Luo Qian, his rage boiled over. Is it really you? I sacrificed so much for you. Do you even have a heart? How could you climb into another man's palanquin? That was your choice. It has nothing to do with me. Luo Qian shoved him away violently, her gaze fixed on the crown prince in the distance, clad in crimson. She smoothed her robes and dashed toward him without a second thought. The crown prince watched the scene with an expressionless face. He narrowed his eyes slightly, picked up the bow with its red silk cord, and silently drew it to full tension. By the time Luo Qian realized what was happening, she barely managed to halt her steps. Her mouth opened in shock. You. The first arrow pierced her shoulder. The second struck her lower abdomen. The third arrow found its mark in her heart. Luo Qian, her expression frozen in disbelief, slowly collapsed backward onto the ground. Yuchi Wei froze solid. At that very moment, I released an arrow from the shadows, striking the crown prince's mount and sending him tumbling to the ground. I immediately rushed to Luo Qian's side. I won. Where's the wager? She lay barely clinging to life, her eyes brimming with tears. Unable to speak, she mustered her last breath to lift her hand and touch her hairpin. In her hair, I found the evidence, the secret correspondence linking her to the crown prince. Not only was it in his own handwriting, but it bore his private seal. The evidence was irrefutable. King Chi swiftly led his troops to encircle the crown prince. With both witness and proof in hand, the crown prince offered little resistance, accepting defeat gracefully. Fu Yao, after all these years under my command, how could I never have suspected you were King Chi's man? He believed his loss stemmed from my unwavering loyalty to King Chi from the start. Your Highness, I belong to no one. I dismissed this with a light sigh. I simply refused to be a pawn in someone else's game. Luo Qian perished in the wilderness. The crown prince was convicted and exiled 3,000 li. The case had far-reaching implications, and Yuchi Wei naturally could not escape punishment. His actions amounted to complicity. Both his legs were broken, and he was banished from the capital, forbidden to return for the rest of his life. When he was cast out beyond the city limits, he still sent word requesting to see me. The messenger reported he appeared deranged, muttering things like "I know now and she too has been reborn." I did not go to see him. As for what I've been occupied with, the crown prince's private assets were confiscated, including a 3-courtyard mansion with a rather peculiar layout, one that leaves a lasting impression. I couldn't help but praise it before Prince Chi, who then petitioned His Majesty for an edict granting me the mansion as my official residence. I've been sweeping and dusting, preparing to host guests. Today, a sudden downpour began. Gazing at the lush banana leaves beneath the eaves, I found myself lost in thought. Everything before me pulsed with such vibrant life. Heaven has been kind to me. I, Fu Yao, exist only in this present life. All that came before is but an old dream. Prince Chi braved the heavy rain to visit. Half a month later, he came specifically to return something to me. It was the hairpin and ring he had personally stored for me that day at the Moonwold Temple. We didn't finish our conversation that day. I paused to recall before realizing what he meant. I don't like Yuchi Wei. Prince Chi lowered his gaze upon hearing this, uttering a soft "oh." After a long pause, he plucked a leaf from a potted flower and suddenly asked, "Then what kind of person do you like?" I scooped up my poor, plucked flower to prevent further damage and turned to step inside the house. I like those destined for greatness, to be infafed as marquises and appointed ministers, with boundless futures. The story ends here. Thank you for watching. The next chapter will be even more exciting.